Living Local presents Biz Buzz 413 with your host, Jill Munson.
Before we get started with today's episode of Biz Buzz 413, I'd like to thank our first ever Biz Buzz 413 groundbreaker sponsor, Home City Development. Home City Development has been building better neighborhoods since 1967. Based out of Springfield, Mass., Home City believes everyone deserves a quality home because when people have a place to call home, communities thrive. As our first ever sponsor, words are not enough. And for those of you who know me, I'm not often speechless. Thank you so much, Home City Development. A couple additional quick partner shoutouts. Tiger Web Designs. Thanks for making us look awesome on the World Wide Web. And thank you to my company, Hop More, confidence coaching, training, and public speaking for emerging leaders. And of course, thank you to livinglocal413.org. Welcome to another edition of Biz Buzz 413. I am your host, Jill Munson, always excited to be with you, especially on a week of gratitude. As we come upon Thanksgiving, I'm so grateful for Bill Cole and Living Local 413, the initiative that he founded years back that has really taken hold and started to become the must-go-to source for all things economic development, entertainment, community, business, nonprofit. There's a great calendar. If you're looking to find out what's going on, we've said we wanted this for years, folks. It's like oh my God, there's 6 things this night. Well, there didn't have to be 6 things if you looked at the Living Local 413 calendar. So we handle Hampshire, Franklin, Berkshire, and Hampden counties, and we do our best to get it all on the calendar. You got to send it in, though. I also, on this week of gratitude, would like to extend a great big thanks to our first sponsor of Biz Buzz 413. They're the groundbreaker sponsor, Home City Development. We can't do it without you. And this week, more than ever in this time, the holiday season, I think people value the home they have, the family they get to celebrate the holidays with. And thanks to Home City Development, more people get to have a home. So thank you so much. If you want to share anything with me or be a guest, feel free to email us, bizbuzz@livinglocal413.org. That is BIZBUZZ, bizbuzz@livinglocal413.org. Today, I have one of my super duper pals. We actually used to, I always forget this part, but we worked together. Dawn Creighton, who is now the guru of all things Liberty Bank. That officially should be your title, but it's actually Community Outreach Officer, correct?
Correct.
I mean, I think like we need to talk. I mean, I do know David Glidden. I could go to the president of the bank and say, can we change your title to just guru of all things Liberty Bank? So let me know if you want that title, okay?
I would love that. And I want to see his face when you ask.
I've known him. It was funny. I was prepping for this interview and I was thinking, like, man, I've known Dawn forever. This is going to be weird because I have to ask her very, official questions. But I also was like, wow, I really know a lot of people at Liberty Bank. I obviously, as I mentioned, I know David Glidden. I know Jeff Sattler, who's in commercial relationships. I know Glenn Davis. Is Glenn your boss? Because he's community development.
Yes.
Oh, Glenn, Dawn's the bomb. Sorry, just had to put that little plug in for you, Don. And then I also know you have a newer team member who's a total rock star, Kate, your VP of Human Services or Human Resources. So, what an awesome, and Phaedra, I almost forgot Phaedra. Yeah, you have a great team. So, way to go, Dawn, for landing at probably the best job for you at the best, community opportunity, and it's just awesome. But people are going, okay, Jill, I don't know Liberty Bank well enough, which is weird because you're everywhere. But in case they're maybe sleeping, under a rock, tell us just 30,000 foot view of Liberty Bank as a, full service financial institution, even the parts you're maybe not with your hands in today. What do you guys do and how do you do it different? Tell us about Liberty Bank.
Thank you, Jill, for that tee up. And thank you for making me sound awesome. My head's not going to be able to fit through this door when our interview is done. So Liberty Bank was established in 1825. We're the oldest and largest mutual bank in the country. $7.5 billion in assets. We have over 800 employees.
Wow.
For the past 14 years, we have been the top workplace, which is positively exciting. Throughout Connecticut, we have 54 offices, and we're working our way into Western Massachusetts. We came into the market 5 years ago. I came on board 2 years ago. And so our first branch is in East Longmeadow. Our commercial lending office is in Monarch Place in downtown Springfield. And we are just taking Western Mass by storm.
With you at the helm of the community piece working alongside Glenn, I have no doubt that will happen. But talk to me about that, because as you know, living local is about the 413. And we always say this, it doesn't mean we don't like Boston. It doesn't mean we don't like Hartford or New Haven, or even Brattleboro for that matter. These key cities that surround us, Albany, they're all part and parcel to the growth of our region. But we really here on this podcast focus on the Hamden, Hampshire, Franklin, Berkshire counties. So tell me a little bit about what the experience is like, and what maybe, if you're allowed to share, what does some of the future look like for Liberty Bank in the 413? Is there another, brick and mortar coming? Are you going more the virtual route? What's the goal within this part of Western Mass?
So, Jill, that's a great question. Thank you for asking. Liberty Bank, as I said, has been in existence for 200 years. In May, we kicked off our big celebration. It's been a year-long festivities of different activities. And the reason that we are in Western Mass is because 6 years ago, when the CEO of Liberty Bank retired, I said, who do we want? And everyone said, Dave Glidden. Dave Glidden was formerly the president of TD Bank.
Yes.
And David said, I'm kind of good where I am. And then ended up having a conversation with the board out of a professional courtesy. And when he learned the difference between a mutual savings bank versus a bank that's owned by stakeholders, he said, you know what? I like what you guys have to offer. I would like to come on board. However, we got to open up a pocket in Western Mass. I'm a Holyoke boy and I got to take care of my people. And they agreed and said, yep, let's do it. Obviously, there was a lot more to it. I'm simplifying it dramatically, but we could be here for an entire day if we went through that entire story. So David entered us into Western Massachusetts, and it's been an incredibly exciting journey to watch as we expanded. We started off with just a little commercial lending team in West Springfield. David built an amazing team of strong people that he had worked with and seen in the community, and knew that they were going to take the bank to the next level. Our mantra is be community kind, and it is in everything we do. It's in our DNA. It's not just it's not just our mantra. It's in everything we do. In 2024, we gave out $2.7 million in corporate sponsorships, donations, and initiatives. We, as a team, we volunteered 16,000 hours. This is just in 2024.
Well, it's perfect, because you queued me up for the idea of, be community kind. And it's funny that you say, it's not just a mantra, because I think, and not just in financial institutions, but in business, right? And I have a background in marketing, and I work with these companies, and I'm like, so what's your sort of, your philosophy? And they have some, community words they throw at me, and I'm like, okay, great. What does that look like in action? And the action part falls for a lot of the time very short. And it's like, okay, it's great to have that on the wall, but if you don't have it in purpose and in day to day, it doesn't matter. And you guys do, and I know that because I'm out in the community and I see you. And it's not just about yes, the 2 point whatever million, that's incredible. And obviously an infusion of cash is important. But what I love, Dawn, is what you mentioned about the volunteer part, because the giving is only a part of community action. So I know you guys are involved with the American Cancer Society. Years ago, I worked there, so I got to know your team. You do a lot. You come out, you do the big walk. You also did the Susan G. Komen More Than Pink walk. So tell me a little bit about just a couple, because we would be here till tomorrow and Bill will kill me. But tell me about a couple others, beyond ACS and Susan G. Komen, things that you're doing in the community of Western Mass to get out and really boots on the ground. Again, money, great. We love money, but boots on the ground.
Jill, each of the 800 plus employees is given 4 paid days off to volunteer into the community.
Really? Wow.
We can do whatever we want. So for example, I'm CRA, which is Community Reinvestment Act and Community Outreach. One of my first paid days off to volunteer in the community, I took that day to support something with the World Affairs Council, which has nothing to do with CRA. Absolutely nothing.
But it was your choice. That's cool.
It was my choice. And I brought a group of Russian economic development people who had come here through the World Affairs Council and wanted to see how do rural communities handle economic development. I was their tour guide. God bless them. They actually had a good time. But that had nothing to do with my job. That had everything to do with something that I was passionate about, and that was the World Affairs Council. But so people can do whatever they want.
You mentioned earlier you have 800 employees.
Yeah.
So this is why I'm not in banking, because I suck at math, but I'm doing like some, cheap math in my head. I'm thinking 800 people times 4 days off, which is an average of 8 hours. That is a huge investment in your people, which is like why you're probably winning workforce, place to, be awards. But
Yeah.
that's a humongous commitment. And I love the fact that it's not like, okay, here's the list you can choose from because these are the things we believe in. Yes, Liberty Bank supports certain things, and that's awesome, but you're allowing your employees to engage their passion. That's just fabulous. Go on. Sorry.
No, that's great. So, which teed me up to something really important. So, in my role as a community outreach officer, I'm going into the community. I'm finding out what are the needs of the low to moderate income population that we serve, and each organization that I go to, I find out what do they do? Do they want board members? Do they need volunteers? What can we do?
Right.
And I bring it back to my team in Western Mass and say, hey, I just met with, Follow My Steps. And because of me meeting with Follow My Steps and being so involved with them, my teammate Tanner got involved with Follow My Steps.
That's awesome.
I love the organization. I'll be emceeing an event coming up in December. We've got Sue Fern, who's very, very active in JA. They just did the stock market challenge last night, and members of our team volunteered for that.
Oh my God.
Yesterday, we had a group of our teammates went to the Western Mass Food Bank and restocked shelves. And today we've got a group of teammates from Western Mass that are doing the Festival of Trees and setting up a tree for the Springfield Boys and Girls Club. So, we get to do things.
No wonder you're tired. Because I know you, even though they're not your things, I know you're going to like pop over here and pop over there and take, what we call a Dawn Creighton selfie. By the way, if you don't know Dawn personally and you've never been in a Dawn Creighton selfie, if you're ever with her at an event, make sure you get in one because it's got a particular angle to it. And if until you're in a Dawn Creighton selfie, you cannot say you've truly lived. So I'm just saying.
One thing that cracks me up is anytime their EDC has their annual meeting, Rick Sullivan will make everybody in the room look at me and he'll say, everybody make sure you get the selfie with Dawn Creighton because it's not your birthday unless she says happy birthday on Facebook with her selfie with you. So it cracks me up.
It's so true. And thank you. And we've had the conversation. This is the diversion, but you and I've had the conversation that in my role of marketing, I often have to look for like pictures at an event to promote the post promote, the in case you missed it, ICYMI. And so I'm always like looking but I can't use Dawn's because they're always crooked. And I'm like, anyway, all right. So one of the things that I know you are super passionate about personally, and now just coincidentally, it's your lifeblood at your job, but is small business. Way back to the days we worked together, we were in advertising. You're just such a believer in encouraging and embracing all entrepreneurs in our community. And so you're a part of this, what I consider as an entrepreneur, because as you know, I own Pop More. So it's a small business. I do coaching and training in confidence and emotional intelligence. And so you started with the Sphere in Northampton, this Breaking Barriers survey, and it's this data gather, but nobody can really do it unless they know it exists. So I'm going to put the link in, but will you tell people why it's not just another survey? Why is this so important?
So after this, I know we're going to talk about the Academy for Small Business, but it kind of ties into the Academy for Small Business. We run an Academy for Small Business. And as I was bringing the Academy for Small Business into Western Mass, as it's been highly successful in Connecticut, where we literally have 20 to 30 people on the waiting list for each session. In Western Mass, it's gotten a little bit of a slower start. We couldn't figure out why. And I went out for coffee with Roberto Nieves from Common Capital, and we were just talking about how we support the community together and what can we do. And we really got to talking about how there's so many groups that bring individuals together, and they talk about what are the needs of the entrepreneurs and what are the barriers. And everyone has this great conversation, and then people go away and nothing materializes, and then they get together again.
Rickets.
Yeah, and then they talk about the same thing, and it's great. It's fantastic. They can keep talking about the same thing and not make, not doing anything. I've always had a rule in my life. You can complain about something 3 times. But if you don't do something by the 4th time, you have no right to talk about it. So
wow, you're generous.
Yeah.
You give people 3 times. I'm like, nope, twice. I'm done.
Yeah.
Go on.
So, Roberto and I really dove into that. And where are people able to share what they're learning, and how are we tracking this? And so we had this really robust conversation, and we knew that we needed to do breakout sessions for people to share their challenges, their strengths, and what are we doing right? Because we are doing some things right in our region to support our entrepreneurs. And where are the gaps? What are the barriers? Is my Academy for Small Business not filling up like it is in Connecticut? Because there's already so many services. Should we be focusing on something else? I don't know. We won't know that. So Roberto went back and spoke with his team and decided that we needed to do some research, and we needed to hire somebody to make this really, truly happen. And Roberto reached out to our friends from Sphere, and they said, we want in. And then Roberto came to me and said, will Liberty Bank sponsor this? And I said, you bet your patootie we will. And Glenn immediately said yes, and knew that this was very, very important. I'm blessed in the fact that while Glenn has been working in Connecticut for the past 10 years, he at Liberty as the head of our CRA department, he has been involved in Western Massachusetts for quite some time. He did some work with the Urban League. He did some work with Mass Mutual for a number of years. He was actually at Mass Mutual in a CRA capacity when the tornado went through Springfield. He was here when everything blew up, and he was part of that economic development team that had to rebuild everything. So Glenn knows our community. He's embedded in it, and he knows what the needs are. And so he knew that this was really important because we do have some great programs. But what are the gaps? And if we're just sitting in coffee shops complaining, we're not going to get to that. So that's why Liberty Bank felt as though it was truly, truly important to fund this research project so we can figure out, as we're coming into the Western Mass market, what is already being done that we don't need to, because XYZ is already doing this and they're doing it really good. Don't bother messing in that space. Right. But there's a void here. So for us, it was, we want to make sure that we're being the best community partner as we're coming into this market and filling the voids and not stepping on toes of others, but making sure we give entrepreneurs the tools and the resources that we need. The entrepreneurs have a great idea. They have a great widget. They have a great gadget. They have a great service, but they don't know what they don't know. And that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that we are giving them every resource possible to make sure that they're successful, because only 1 in 5 businesses will last more than 5 years.
Wow. And for me, it's super important because I was an entrepreneur for years, and now I'm coming back to it, right, in a different form. And it's just fascinating because I've sat at those tables. I used to be, and I've told this story, I used to be on a committee for the city, and it was for workforce. And you'll appreciate this from our old world. And we're sitting at the table and we bring in all these different groups. It was a city council, like, community initiative, right? And this group is saying what they do. And then the next meeting, we bring in this group and they're saying what they do. And I'm thinking, wait, you do the same thing the group last meeting talked about. But nobody wanted to get together because it was this idea of like mine, right? Like, I'm going to take the pride in it. And I think what this survey, the future of this survey should be able to do is break down some of those barriers. Like, when you need X, this group is doing it. So then the next group can come up with the new idea. And that's just brilliant. So 2 things I wanted to mention is it is available in English and in Spanish. So thank you for that, because we often forget our Spanish, primary speaking colleagues in this market. So thank you for that. And secondarily, is there a deadline? I'm going to put the link in for everybody so they can do it. And you do get entered. It's like a 10-minute survey. Everybody that does the survey will be entered to win a gift card. But is there a deadline, like when it's going to be closed, so I can make sure people know?
Forgive me. I know that December 9th is the big event at the Union Station with Sphere as a sponsor. And okay. I believe that's the closeout on it.
Okay. Perfect. And it wasn't listed here. So I put you on the spot a little bit. If you find out, you can let me know, and I can update, the notes of the podcast. Obviously the big thing now is that we're on the week of Thanksgiving. So my suggestion is, like, you're going to hear this podcast today, and I highly suggest, maybe you squeeze it in before you take your Thanksgiving break, because you'll get busy. You're going to shop, presumably some small business shopping on Saturday. So get it done, because you don't want to miss this opportunity. This kind of opportunity to have a voice doesn't come often. So I have to ask one last question, and it's going to kill me because we're at the 20-minute mark, or almost 20-minute mark. You know how Bill is. But I do, last but not least, have to ask you about your baby, which is, you talked about this, the Academy for Small Business. And I know it was, robustly going in Connecticut, and now you're bringing it into Mass. And as a small business owner, this is huge. Like, when I was reading and doing my research, I was like, holy moly. Like, people pay a lot of money to private, like, business firms for what you're giving them. And they also can, sort of qualify for a bonus at the end of it. So tell me a little bit about, the ASB, your Academy for Small Business, and maybe when the, next kind of round is going to start up.
Thanks, Jill. We completed our class last night for the October session. The next class starts in March, and I'm really proud of this. This was Glenn Davis's idea. This was his baby, and I get to carry it over into Western Mass, and I take great pride in it because, like I said, we know that entrepreneurs, they have a great product, they have a great service, they're gung-ho, they want to get that business going, but they don't know what they don't know. And that is what really hurts them. They think, oh, I'm going to skimp on paying somebody to do my accounting. I'll do it. I'll save money. Well, what they save in money, they make up for in fines and fees because they didn't do something right. So we provide are you ready for this? Tuition-free 10 modular virtual training that we do on Tuesdays and Thursdays over the course of 5 weeks. And we bring in industry leaders from the community to speak to things such as marketing, such as tax preparation, such as insurance. Is owning a business right for you? Why should you be a LLC? Why should you be a sole proprietor? And I just love it. I love the fact that our entrepreneurs get to learn all these tools and understand why that some things that they actually need to pay for to make sure that it's being done right. And last night, as our closing night, this couldn't have been a better time for this conversation. We went around the room and we talked about what was their favorite class. And they all said, are you ready for this? They all said the tax accountant class. Did anybody think anybody'd ever get excited about taxes? But our speaker was so phenomenal and really made people understand what they need to do to pay taxes, why they need to pay for taxes, and the different types of business. It was phenomenal. So, they get to learn a lot, but they also they build this camaraderie with each other. You might recall when we had the Entrepreneur Spotlight, there was 5 people from my class that we did a field trip, and they went, and they've built this bond through this class that will carry out long beyond the class ending last night. When I'm done here, I'm going to send a wrap up for the class, and it's going to remind people that they need to submit their application. If they have attended all 10 classes and they have a credit score of 600 or above, and they're in our asset area, they can qualify for a $5,000 credit line.
Wow.
So I'll be sending them that information.
That was the little bonus at the end that I wanted to mention. Like, that's a pretty awesome thing. Yeah.
That can be, it's, for some people, like, $5,000, what's that going to do? But for a small business, it's a big deal. Our entrepreneurs have been in business 4 years or less. Did you hear that?
No, that's
4 years or less. We have people that are getting their Massachusetts business while they're in business. We're waiting for people to get their tax ID
valuable
while they're in the class.
Yeah. No, if anybody believes what I say, this is something I got an MBA and I still have confusion over, I happen right now to be a sole proprietor, but like in my old company, I was S Corp. And why was I an S Corp instead of an LLC? And that stuff, it's invaluable. So awesome. The Small Business Academy. We do have to go because if I don't, Bill's going to fire me. Thank you so much, Dawn.
And we have to start cooking our turkeys. Thanksgiving's 2 days away. Jill, I'm going to run and go get my turkey dinner started. Thank you so much. Appreciate you, my friend.
Happy Thanksgiving to you and to your family. Dawn Creighton, Liberty Bank's Community Outreach Officer. I am Jill Munson with Biz Buzz 413. Thank you again to Home City Development, our Biz Buzz 413 groundbreaker sponsor. We can't do it without you. And tomorrow and every day, especially this week of gratitude, as you wake up, say thank you that I get to live in the 413.
Biz Buzz 413 was brought to you by Living Local.